Hi, everyone. I'm Greg Lambert. I'm the Chief Knowledge Services Officer at Jackson Walker and the editor of the LVN newsletter each month. And this month we have the spotlight shining on one of our members, Angie Floessel, who is the Global Director of Pricing Strategy and Project Management at Morrison Forrester. So, Angie, thanks for letting us shine the spotlight on you this month.
Thanks for having me.
Generally, we start off by just asking, how in the world did you end up in legal operations?
Yeah, mine is a long, winded road. I was coming back from Switzerland. I was actually lived over there for 13 years, and I was going to be doing a sabbatical in the U.S. And in between that period of time, I was contacted by a good friend who's a headhunter, and she said there's an opening at Baker for a CFO. And they had just rolled out SAP about 9 months prior and were really struggling. And I had done many SAP applications in Europe when I lived overseas, and so it was kind of a perfect fit. And when I started working in finance, I learned very quickly a lot of the downstream impacts to our overall numbers were starting in the pricing area. And so I rolled out a pricing organization. We did a lot of auditing of our past agreements. And in the first year, I think a lot of it was because of SAP, but in the first year we found about 25 million of revenue leakage.
Wow.
So that launched the whole thing. And I just kind of fell into this is really where you can make a difference.
Do you remember about
In
what year that was?
that was 20, let's see, I've been with Mofo 3 years. That would have been 2016, 2017. 2017.
Uh,
Okay.
what are you seeing as some of the challenges uh, for the legal industry that you see on the horizon?
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of look at it in short term, long term. So, I mean, short term, I do think right now we're going through a bit of a crisis with clients and their struggles with their spend and particularly if you're in certain segments. So, our law firm is very much in the tech segment. And then, of course, M&A, you're seeing huge impacts in that space. So I think we're going to struggle in the near term of being able to realize our profits that we've been used to for the last couple of years, and not getting into a rabbit's hole of what happened in 2008, where you reset the value of legal services. So I think that is a concern short term. And then I think also the talent pool is getting tighter and tighter for our area. And I think that's going to also be a concern as more, I think, smaller firms are also starting to get into the legal space or into the pricing space. And then longer term, I would say innovation. I still think law firms are behind, and now you're seeing this super fast track of things that are a bit scary if you want to think about from a technology perspective. And I think lawyers just tend to sit back and think it's not going to necessarily impact our area. And I do worry that some of the new AI that's coming is going to take over some of the work that we're doing, and we may not be prepared if we're not getting more ahead of it. And so then it gets defined how it's going to be impacting the legal profession versus us being partnered to define it.
Do you see the AI tools that are that have become very popular over the last 4 or 5 months, not just affecting the way the lawyers may practice law, but do you see it actually affecting the pricing professionals and how they practice their profession as well, their craft?
Well, I think the more that you see innovation start to bleed into the organizations, there's going to be an expectation of efficiency. And it's always, how do you show efficiency in the delivery of the services, versus that the law is getting more complex. So you have things that are driving it. to be reduced as efficiencies, but things that are also coming in that are making it more complex. So all of that AI work is going to probably also have a lot of regulation and a lot of other things that are going to be coming with it that are going to drive more complexities in the legal. So you kind of have this back and forth with clients that we're going to have to deal with.
Makes sense. So, April is Stress Awareness Month. And for us, it's probably every month is Stress Awareness Month, but we'll focus this month. Do you have any advice on how you manage stress, or how you maintain a healthy work-life balance?
I am very lucky in that I work on a West Coast schedule in a Midwest home location. So what I've been able to do in the last couple years is really block off the mornings, like the first 2 hours of my day, which means it's before everybody's even awake on the West Coast. And so I'm being able to do things in that time period that I'm focusing on myself with. So yoga and, if I could get short round of golfing or even hitting balls or something like that, if it's nice out, or walking with the dog or going biking or something like that. So I'm trying to take that time and say it's really for me, and not go and immediately jump onto the computer as soon as I wake up in the morning and start working. So that's been really helpful.
Yeah,
Really helpful.
that's really, really wise words there, to not just jump in and start the workday. So, well, now it's to wrap things up. Obviously, we love podcasting here. I'm a podcaster, so we wanted to ask you, what's your favorite thing to do off the clock, and if you had a podcast, what would it be called?
That second one was a zinger of a question. I gave you a little bit of an insight of what I love yoga. I love to golf. I took that up about 2 years ago. And I spend a lot of time with my daughter who's 15, and then the two of us, we love to garden and cook together. So those are kind of the things I do off the clock. And for a podcast, I don't know. I was thinking, what is kind of my mantra, and I'm very short. So but a lot of people don't realize it sometimes when I'm talking. So I must put out a little bit more of a tallness. I don't know. So I would say maybe something about the small but mighty, and maybe there's a place for us to get together and talk about being short and what that means. I don't know.
That's funny. Yeah, on Zoom calls, we're all 6 feet tall. So.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Well, Angie Floessel, I appreciate you taking the time to let us shine the spotlight on you this month. Thank you very much. Very much.
Thank you.